Yo, hoop fans! Your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Dallas Mavericks and Cleveland Cavaliers. As we heat up for a spectacular face-off between the Dallas Mavericks and the Cleveland Cavaliers, we're in for an electric NBA clash. The Mavericks, surfing on a high with a 7-game win streak, hit a snag against the Pacers, dropping the game 133-111 despite a stellar 33-point showcase from Luka Doncic. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers have been flexing their muscles, clinching 11 out of their last 14 games, proving their mettle. The Cavaliers have been a fortress defensively, topping the charts in curtailing opponent assists and second-quarter scores. This defensive prowess could potentially bottleneck the Mavericks' dynamic duo of Doncic and Kyrie Irving, with Donovan Mitchell steering the ship in steals and Jarrett Allen dominating the paint with his field goal precision. Cleveland has been a force on both ends of the court. Yet it would be a folly to sleep on the Mavericks. Bouncing back from their recent stumble, they've displayed tenacity and a high-octane offense. Irving's scoring spree and P.J. Washington's bench magic have kept their offensive stats robust, particularly in shooting efficiency and scoring averages. Reflecting on their last face-off in December, where Cleveland narrowly clinched victory, sheds light on what could unfold. The Cavaliers' rebounding dominance played a key role, but the Mavericks' lethal accuracy from the free throw line and their control inside the paint suggest they can breach Cleveland's defenses. Considering both squads' latest exploits and their statistical firepower, this matchup promises to be a nail-biter. Dallas, with its offensive juggernaut led by Doncic and Irving, is ready to clash swords with Cleveland's defensive solidity and the advantage of playing on home turf. Despite the Cavaliers' defensive stronghold, the Mavericks' recent form, highlighted by their three-point barrage and Irving's scoring finesse, hints they could outmaneuver the spread. Dallas's versatility and scoring power, coupled with their recent momentum, positions them as prime candidates to not just beat the 4-point spread, but potentially snatch a victory. The game's total points are up for grabs, considering both teams' scoring prowess, but with the Mavericks eager to rebound and the Cavaliers' defensive clout, it skews slightly in favor of staying under the 234-point mark. To wrap up, anticipate a hard-fought battle with the Mavericks demonstrating enough firepower and strategy to beat the spread. The Cavaliers will mount a formidable defense, but Dallas's offensive agility and recent surge tip the scales in their favor. I'm placing my bets on the Dallas Mavericks to beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Brooklyn Nets and Orlando Magic. As the Brooklyn Nets gear up to face off against the Orlando Magic at the Kia Center, we're in for a riveting Eastern Conference clash. Both squads are hungry to turn the tide after hitting a rough patch. With victory in sight, they're up against formidable challenges in a high-stakes matchup. The Nets, currently 11th in the Eastern standings with a 21-35 record, are hitting a snag offensively, managing an average of 112.5 points per game, which ranks them 23rd across the league. Their scoring struggle is glaring, with a field goal percentage at 45.7% and hitting the mark from downtown at a 36.4% clip. Despite these hurdles, Brooklyn's prowess on the boards is a glimmer of hope, snagging 44.6 rebounds per game to rank 8th. On defense, they're middling, conceding 115.5 points on average and showing cracks in guarding the perimeter, an Achilles heel that needs tightening. Flipping the script, the Orlando Magic, comfortably perched at 8th in the East with a 32-26 tally, have made a name with their stingy defense. Holding opponents to just a 110.8 points per game lands them in the 7th spot, backed by an offense that's ripe with potential despite a 26th ranking in scoring. The Magic's shooting metrics are a mixed bag, but it's their defensive grit, especially in snagging rebounds where they stand second, that lays a solid groundwork. The home turf at the Kia Center has been a stronghold for the Magic, who've shown they can capitalize on home court vibes. Past encounters and stats in this venue have seen Orlando outplay Brooklyn, particularly in clamping down on defense. Head-to-head, Orlando's defensive stronghold seems to eclipse Brooklyn's offensive flounders. The Nets' lineup woes, with Ben Simmons' knee issues and Darek Whitehead sidelined, could cramp their style and flexibility. Meanwhile, Orlando might get a boost with Paolo Banchero and other key players possibly stepping back on the court, tilting the balance their way. Eyeing the stats and current form, the Magic's defense is set to bottleneck the Nets' faltering offense. With their knack for keeping scores low and dominating rebounds, combined with the home advantage, Orlando is primed to outperform the 8-point spread. Their disciplined defense and the spark from returning offensive talents pose a twofold challenge Brooklyn may struggle to counter. Considering the dynamics at play and their history in Orlando, the Magic's defensive rigor and savvy offensive plays are likely to clinch them a victory and beat the spread. The Nets, even with a potential for grit, are up against it to patch up their defensive gaps and scoring inefficiencies. Wrapping up, the Orlando Magic are tipped to triumph in this showdown, banking on their defensive clout and home turf to outdo the Brooklyn Nets. Expect Orlando to not just win, but also to cover the 8-point spread, exploiting Brooklyn's weak spots to solidify their playoff contention with a commanding display. My money's on the Orlando Magic to take the win and the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Golden State Warriors and Washington Wizards. In the throbbing pulse of the NBA season, an enthralling clash is on the horizon as the Golden State Warriors gear up to face off against the Washington Wizards. This game showcases a Warriors team on the rebound, squaring off against a Wizards crew, eager to snap a troubling skid. The Warriors, after seeing their hot streak cool down, are hungry for redemption. They had previously racked up 3 straight wins and clinched victories in 8 of their last 10 games, underscoring their prowess both pre- and post-All-Star break. Positioned 10th in the Western Conference and nipping at the Lakers' heels, the Warriors have demonstrated grit and an explosive offense, sitting 6th in the league for points scored per game. Their defense, though, has wavered, coming in 21st in points allowed. Stephen Curry, even with a recent dip in shooting accuracy, remains a key offensive player, averaging 27.7 points per game, with Klay Thompson and Jonathan Kuminga providing stellar moments. On the flip side, the Washington Wizards find themselves in a rough patch, dropping 11 consecutive games and becoming one of the season's most disappointing teams. Their defense leaks points, ranking at the bottom for points allowed. Despite scoring contributions from Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, the squad's rhythm has been disrupted by injuries and defensive gaps. Their performance at home is notably the league's weakest, making their challenge even steeper. Historically, the Warriors have had the upper hand in matchups, especially in recent visits to the Wizards' home court. Golden State's road performance outshines Washington's home efforts, and their last meeting this season ended in a win for the Warriors. Comparing stats, the Warriors boast superior scoring and a marginally better defense than the Wizards. Washington's defensive woes, particularly at home, could tip the scales in this game. The Warriors' road efficiency and higher shooting percentages position them to exploit the Wizards' vulnerabilities. Though not a back-to-back game, the Warriors' knack for bouncing back after defeats may be pivotal. The Wizards have shown tenacity in their latest game, but face a daunting task in bolstering their defense and achieving offensive consistency. Given these dynamics, the Warriors are tipped to not only triumph, but also to surpass the 9.5-point spread set by odds makers. The projected total of 241.5 points reflects both teams' scoring talents and defensive shortcomings. While the Warriors frequently engage in high-scoring games, the Wizards' defensive lapses could inflate the score. Ultimately, Golden State's offensive strength and slightly steadier defense are expected to be decisive. In summary, anticipate the Golden State Warriors to establish their supremacy and beat the spread, capitalizing on their scoring edge and the Wizards' defensive weaknesses. A high total score is probable, yet the wise bet is on the Warriors' win and covering the spread. My wager is firmly on the Golden State Warriors to clinch the win and the 9.5-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Utah Jazz and Atlanta Hawks. Tonight's NBA clash features the Utah Jazz with a 27-31 record, hitting the hardwood against the Atlanta Hawks, who are sitting at 25-32. This game is gearing up to be a captivating showdown as both squads aim to ascend in their conference standings. Coming into this game, both teams are riding the wave of convincing wins. The Jazz just ended a 5-game skid by taking down the San Antonio Spurs 128-109, while the Hawks soared over the Orlando Magic 109-92. The Jazz flexed their offensive muscles against the Spurs, with Lauri Markkanen dropping 26 points to lead the charge, averaging 118 points per game and boasting a 47.1% shooting average from the field. Utah ranks 9th in the league for scoring. However, their defense leaves much to be desired, with a defensive rating of 119.2, placing them 26th in the league. Meanwhile, the Hawks, sans their star Trae Young, have been lighting up the scoreboard, averaging 121.1 points per game, the 4th highest in the league. Their defensive challenges, though, outshine the Jazz's, with a defensive rating of 120.8, relegating them to the league's depths. Looking at their matchups in Atlanta, the Jazz's balanced attack and marginally better defensive play against the Hawks' league worst defense could edge them ahead. Trae Young's absence looms large over Atlanta, potentially derailing their ability to capitalize on Utah's defensive shortcomings. Both teams prefer a fast game, with Utah's pace at 102.9, 7th in the league, and Atlanta's at 104, 3rd in the league, hinting at a scoreboard explosion, in line with a total points margin set at 237. Given their defensive woes and offensive strengths, betting on a high score seems reasonable. Utah's road performance, spotlighting their shooting precision, rebounding prowess, and ability to exploit Atlanta's defensive lapses, could be decisive. The Jazz's superior shooting and rebounding stats slightly tip the scales in their favor. Thus, the prediction favors the Utah Jazz. Their offensive efficiency, even in Otto Porter Jr.'s absence, against the Hawks' weak defense, and Atlanta's challenges without Trae Young, suggest Utah has the upper hand. Expect a high-octane, defensively lax matchup, but Utah's slightly sturdier defense and offensive reliability should help them expose Atlanta's flaws more effectively. The forecast is for the Utah Jazz to triumph and beat the 3-point spread. I'm backing the Utah Jazz to conquer the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Philadelphia 76ers and Boston Celtics. Tonight's battle at TD Garden features the Philadelphia 76ers squaring off against the Boston Celtics in a matchup ripe with drama and divergent storylines. The 76ers, hitting a rough patch with 3 defeats in their last 4 games, are up against the formidable Celtics, riding high on an impressive 8-game win streak. Philadelphia's uphill battle is further complicated by Joel Embiid's absence for the 12th straight game, facing a Boston team that not only leads the NBA with the best overall record, but also boasts a nearly invincible 26-3 record on their home court. The 76ers' recent struggles, highlighted by a tough loss to the Milwaukee Bucks, where they were outplayed 119-98, don't bode well. Their shooting has been off the mark, with only 37.1% field goal shooting and 34.8% from three-point land. Yet, in the face of these challenges, Tyrese Maxey shines as a beacon of hope, with the guard averaging 25.8 points and 6.4 assists. Philadelphia's knack for drawing fouls and capitalizing at the free throw line, leading the league in both makes and attempts, remains their strong suit. On the other side, the Celtics' winning streak seems unstoppable, with a recent triumph over the Knicks showcasing their lethal combination of offensive might and defensive toughness. Led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Boston's deep and versatile roster is a force to be reckoned with, excelling from downtown and on defense, as evidenced by their top offensive rating and third-best defensive rating. While historical matchups and data lean towards the Celtics, especially with their stronghold at home against Eastern Conference teams, the 76ers have demonstrated tenacity, with a solid record against the spread that hints at their ability to keep games close, even in losses. Considering the home court advantage and statistical superiority of the Celtics, coupled with Philadelphia's struggles without Embiid and defensive challenges against potent offenses like Boston's, the forecast favors a Celtics win. However, the 76ers' resilience and knack for beating the spread in tough matchups suggest a tighter contest than expected. In summary, the Boston Celtics are poised to continue their winning ways, leveraging their home court and depth. Nevertheless, the Philadelphia 76ers are expected to put forth a gutsy performance, possibly beating the spread, but falling short of a victory. The absence of key players for Philadelphia and Boston's comprehensive excellence this season are pivotal in this prediction. My bet is on the Philadelphia 76ers to beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between New Orleans Pelicans and New York Knicks. In the buzzing heart of New York City, a captivating East meets West basketball clash is on the horizon, with the New Orleans Pelicans facing off against the New York Knicks. Both teams, with eyes on the playoffs, are eager to recover from recent slips. The Pelicans, shaking off a loss to Chicago, aim to cement their position in the challenging Western Conference. Meanwhile, the Knicks, looking to bounce back from a setback against Boston, are determined to strengthen their grip on the Eastern Conference standings. Despite a recent hiccup, the Pelicans have shown tenacity on the road, blending offensive firepower with defensive toughness. Averaging 116.1 points per game and shooting 48.6% from the field, they've highlighted their scoring efficiency. Their 37.5% accuracy from beyond the arc poses a serious challenge to the Knicks' defense. Yet, potential lineup changes due to injuries and suspensions may test their depth. C.J. McCollum's presence or absence could significantly sway their scoring potential. Conversely, the Knicks, hitting the hardwood for the second night in a row, grapple with both fatigue and missing key players like Julius Randle and OG Anunoby. Despite these obstacles, their stronghold at Madison Square Garden has proven formidable, with a notable home court advantage. Their defensive prowess, third best in the league by conceding only 109.8 points per game, will be key to countering the Pelicans' offense. The Knicks' ability to keep the score competitive in back-to-back games underscores their depth and strategic coaching. Although the Pelicans have had the edge in recent encounters, including their last meeting, NBA dynamics are fluid, swayed by form, home advantage, and player availability. With the Pelicans' scoring capability and the Knicks' defensive rigidity, this match is set to be a tightly fought battle. The outcome may well depend on bench performance and each team's ability to exploit the opponent's vulnerabilities. For the Pelicans, leveraging their three-point shooting could help overcome the Knicks' defensive stronghold. On the flip side, the Knicks' focus on rebounding and interior scoring, especially without their top scorers, could fend off the Pelicans' challenge. Considering the Knicks' formidable home record and the Pelicans' potential travel weariness, New York slightly edges out as the favorite. Their defensive tenacity and knack for securing hard-fought victories will be crucial. Expect a close showdown, likely resolved in the final moments. To sum up, with the Knicks' robust defense and strategic depth to tackle a back-to-back scenario, they're marginally better placed to clinch a victory. The Pelicans will mount a strong challenge, yet the Knicks' home advantage and defensive strength are expected to prevail in this tight contest. Anticipate a defense-dominated game, with New York narrowly beating the spread. My money's on the New York Knicks to emerge victorious and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between San Antonio Spurs and Minnesota Timberwolves. As the San Antonio Spurs get ready to clash with the Minnesota Timberwolves, we're on the edge of our seats for this much-anticipated face-off. The Spurs are trying to shake off the weight of a four-game skid and are hungry for a win. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves are riding high, winning 5 out of their last 6 games, and are eager to keep their winning streak alive. The Spurs are in a rough patch, with their offense and defense both lagging. They're putting up 112.1 points per game on 46% shooting, but are letting through 120.7 points due to a defense that's more like Swiss cheese, allowing opponents to shoot 49.3% from the floor. Despite standout plays from Victor Wembanyama, who's dropping 20.7 points, snagging 10.1 rebounds, and swatting a league-leading 3.3 blocks per game, and Devin Vassell's solid 19.1 points and 3.7 assists per outing, the team can't seem to turn individual brilliance into wins. Their struggle from the three-point line is real, hitting rock bottom in the league at 34.3%, and their win ratio in the second quarter of games isn't helping their cause either. On the flip side, the Timberwolves are in their element, averaging 113.6 points on a sharp 48.8% shooting, all while keeping their opponents at bay with a tight defense that's giving up just 106.4 points on 44.5% shooting. Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are the dynamic duo leading the charge, with Edwards averaging 26.3 points and 5.4 rebounds, and Towns not only adding 22.6 points and 2.9 assists, but also topping the charts among centers with a three-point shooting percentage of 43.5%. This lethal combination of offensive firepower and leading defensive stats makes them a force to reckon with. Looking back at previous encounters in the city where tonight's game will unfold, the Timberwolves have often used their home court advantage to tip the scales in their favor. Their superior shooting efficiency from the field and beyond the arc, coupled with a slight upper hand in rebounding, has often spelled success in the league. Given the Spurs' recent struggles, especially on defense, and the Timberwolves' solid performance on both ends of the court, the scales are heavily tilted towards Minnesota. The Spurs' leaky defense and inconsistent offense, especially from the three-point line, pave the way for the Timberwolves' balanced and potent attack to dominate. Minnesota's focus on defensive toughness and offensive precision, particularly in their recent outings, highlights their ability to exploit the Spurs' weaknesses. With Rudy Gobert and Towns controlling the paint and a strong perimeter defense, the Timberwolves are set to challenge the Spurs' scoring efforts. All things considered, current form, statistical breakdown, and home performance history, the Minnesota Timberwolves are in a prime position to not only clinch the win, but also beat the spread. Their defensive reliability and offensive consistency are expected to propel them past a Spurs team that, despite moments of excellence, has been struggling to concoct a winning strategy. My money's on the Minnesota Timberwolves to secure the victory and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bulls. On a crisp Tuesday evening at the United Center, the stage is set for the Chicago Bulls to welcome the Detroit Pistons. Fresh off a hard-fought battle against the New York Knicks, the Pistons are bracing for the second night of back-to-back action. Meanwhile, the Bulls, buoyed by a shock win against the New Orleans Pelicans, are the favorites to clinch this one, with the odds makers tipping them by a hefty 7.5 points. This showdown features a Bulls team hitting their stride against a Pistons squad that, despite its struggles, has been no pushover. In the aftermath of the trade deadline, the Pistons are in a phase of recalibration, weaving players like Simone Fontecchio and Evan Fournier into their core lineup. Even with Isaiah Stewart out on suspension, Detroit's grit was on full display in their nail-biter against the Orlando Magic. Yet, their dismal 4-24 away record lays bare the uphill battle they face on foreign courts. On the flip side, the Bulls have navigated through their fair share of turbulence, notably the absence of Zach LaVine. Still, they've stayed in the Eastern Conference fray, propelled by the standout play of Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan. The loss of Patrick Williams is a blow, but the squad's depth has been their ace in the hole. Delving into recent clashes and the track record in Chicago sheds light on possible outcomes. The Pistons' second night back-to-back woes, marred by fatigue. Contrast with the Bulls' knack for exploiting such scenarios, banking on their home turf and bench strength. From a stats angle, the Bulls boast superior shooting accuracy and three-point prowess, key offensive barometers. The rebounding battle, with Vucevic leading the charge, could tip the scales, more so with the Pistons short-handed in the paint. Chicago's prowess in forcing turnovers, a key factor in their win over the Pelicans, could further skew the game their way, preying on the Pistons' transitional hiccups. Past encounters underscore the Bulls' home court stronghold against the Pistons, hinting at a continuation of this trend. Factoring in form, depth, and statistical upper hands, especially in scoring efficiency and defensive tenacity, the Bulls are well placed to keep their winning streak alive. Despite the Pistons' resilience and Cade Cunningham's rising star, the Bulls' depth, home advantage, and tactical superiority, especially in turnover exploitation and board control, are likely to see them not just win, but also beat the 7.5-point spread. The void left by key absences will be palpable, but the Bulls' adaptability and strength against a weary Pistons team will be the game changer. My money's on the Chicago Bulls to triumph and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Charlotte Hornets and Milwaukee Bucks. In the epicenter of the Eastern Conference, we're gearing up for a showdown that pits the up-and-coming Charlotte Hornets against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are experiencing a renaissance under the leadership of Doc Rivers. Set in the electrifying atmosphere of Milwaukee's arena, this game is a showcase of each team's season-long journey and tactical depth. Despite their struggling 15-42 standing, the Hornets have recently ignited, claiming victories in 5 of their last 6 games. This newfound vigor, fueled by the likes of Nick Richards, Miles Bridges, and the rookie phenom Brandon Miller, positions them as potential giant killers. Yet, their season-long narrative of scoring woes, ranking 28th, and inconsistencies in field goal, 27th in the league, and three-point accuracy, 17th in the league, combined with defensive hurdles, highlight a squad in the throes of growing pains. On the flip side, the Bucks, boasting a robust 37-21 record, have solidified their contender status in the Eastern Conference, thanks in part to consecutive victories following the All-Star break. Their offensive juggernaut, second in scoring, and supported by top-notch field goal, 5th in the league, and three-point 8th in the league, efficiencies starkly contrasts with the Hornets' struggles. Coupled with a strong defensive game, highlighted by their 7th place in three-point defense, Milwaukee emerges as a powerhouse on their home turf. A closer look at the stats underlines the Bucks' holistic strength, with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard leading a team that dominates both offensively and defensively. Their prowess in scoring, rebounding, 9th in the league, and minimizing turnovers, 8th in the league, underlines a well-oiled machine that capitalizes on possession and stifles the opposition. Historical matchups in Milwaukee lean heavily in favor of the Bucks, showcasing their ability to exploit the home advantage against the Hornets. This, along with Charlotte's defensive and rebounding woes, 29th in rebounding, points to Milwaukee's likely upper hand in this clash. Injuries and depth will be pivotal, with both squads navigating the wear and tear of the season. The Bucks' depth and experience, particularly in controlling the pace and clutch execution, will be invaluable against the Hornets' youthful energy. The forecast strongly favors Milwaukee, with their superior shooting, strategic acumen, and home advantage poised to counteract the Hornets' inconsistencies and defensive gaps. Nevertheless, the Hornets' recent form and ability to surprise make the 13-point spread seem overstated. In summary, while the Bucks' seasoned leadership under Rivers and star performances, especially from Antetokounmpo, should dominate, the Hornets' recent adaptability and potential to disrupt even the best-laid plans suggest they could defy expectations. Anticipate a Milwaukee victory, but with the Hornets keeping it closer than many would predict. I'm backing the Charlotte Hornets to beat the 13-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder. On a crisp Tuesday evening at the Paycom Center, the stage is set for a thrilling encore between the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, with the air charged with eager anticipation. Just a few nights earlier, the Thunder emerged victorious against the Rockets, clinching a 123-110 victory that highlighted the strengths and weaknesses of both squads. The rematch is shaping up to be a battle of wits, skill, and determination, with Oklahoma City tipped as the frontrunner on their home turf. In their last face-off, the Rockets showcased a game of two distinct halves, initially seizing the lead only to see it evaporate in a second-half slump. Fred VanVleet and Jabari Smith Jr. led the charge with 20 points each, complemented by Alperen Şengün's impressive double-double. Yet, it was Oklahoma City's explosive comeback, driven by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 36 points and Chet Holmgren's 29, that clinched their win. The Thunder's rally wasn't just about offensive firepower. It was a masterclass in defensive strategy and exploiting the Rockets' flaws. Sporting a 25-32 record, the Rockets have dazzled in moments but faltered in maintaining a steady rhythm. Positioned 21st in scoring and 27th in assists league-wide, their reliance on the tray, hitting at a 35.2% clip, has been a mixed blessing, providing scoring spurts but also leading to dry spells. Defensively, Houston sits in the middle of the pack, with opponents shooting 46.1% against them. Conversely, Oklahoma City's season has been a breakout, with their 40th victory catapulting them to the pinnacle of the Western Conference, neck and neck with Minnesota. The Thunder's offense, led by Gilgeous-Alexander's league-leading steals and third-place scoring, has been electrifying. Their knack for converting defense to offense and capitalizing on turnovers has been pivotal to their ascent. Historically, the Paycom Center has been a fortress for the home team, adding an extra layer of advantage for Oklahoma City. Coupled with their recent form, stringing together 5 consecutive wins, including the triumph over Houston, the Thunder appear to be hitting their stride at the perfect moment. While the Rockets have potential, their execution and depth, particularly in clutch situations, have yet to match that of their opponents. Injury updates could be a game-changer in this clash, with both sides keen to field a fully fit squad. Monitoring the injury list as the game draws near will be crucial for gauging each team's readiness. Considering the recent track records, home court advantage, and statistical insights, the odds favor the Oklahoma City Thunder to extend their winning run. With superior shooting metrics and defensive capabilities, led by Gilgeous-Alexander's prowess, the Thunder are poised to secure a victory and surpass the 8-point spread. The Rockets will need an extraordinary display from their leaders and a fortified defense to challenge the Thunder in their domain. My prediction rests with the Oklahoma City Thunder to emerge victorious and beat the spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Miami Heat and Portland Trailblazers. In the captivating showdown across conferences lighting up the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon, the Miami Heat, sporting an impressive 31-25 record, are gearing up to clash with the Portland Trailblazers, who are enduring a challenging season at 15-41. This game pits two squads from opposite ends of the conference spectrum against each other, with the Heat aiming to net their fourth consecutive road win and the Blazers hungry to halt a six-game skid on their home court. The Heat are riding a wave of momentum, boasting a 7-2 record in their last 9 games straight up and an 8-1 record against the spread, even in the absence of stars like Jimmy Butler due to suspension. Their quest for a fourth win in a row was put to the test against the Sacramento Kings, highlighting their tenacity and squad depth. Miami's defensive game has been rock solid, securing the 8th spot in adjusted defensive efficiency by only allowing 110.1 points per game and tightly guarding the perimeter, limiting foes to a 36.2% shooting from downtown. Offensively, the Heat have been efficient, finding ways to score despite being ranked 22nd in adjusted offensive efficiency, their field shooting at 46.3% and three-point accuracy at 37.3%, along with an 82.1% free throw completion rate, underscore a team adept at seizing scoring chances. Their knack for drawing fouls and making free throws could be pivotal in this showdown. Meanwhile, the Portland Trail Blazers are spiraling, with recent games underscoring deep-seated issues on both defense and offense, scoring a mere 108.8 points per 100 possessions and conceding 117.9. The Blazers are lagging in efficiency. Their shooting struggles were stark in their defeat to Charlotte, managing only 34.7% from the field and a paltry 9.4% from three-point land, compounding their woes. Historically, matchups in Portland have been unpredictable, yet given the Heat's current form and the Blazers' persistent hurdles, especially in shot conversion and turnover control, Miami seems to have the upper hand. The Blazers' failure to leverage their 22 offensive rebounds against Charlotte points to a critical shortfall in turning opportunities into points. Analyzing both teams' recent form and stats, Miami's defensive edge and offensive efficiency, even sans key players, significantly tilt the odds in their favor against Portland. The Blazers' ongoing inefficiency on both ends suggests they might find it tough to counter Miami's balanced assault. The potential fatigue from Miami's back-to-back games following their match against Sacramento could have raised concerns, but their depth and history of managing such situations suggest they're well equipped to handle the challenge. In sum, although the Blazers have the home court and are eager to break their losing streak, the Heat's defensive strength, offensive savvy, and current form make them the front-runners to triumph and beat the spread. Miami's ability to induce turnovers, combined with Portland's shooting dilemmas, should pave the way for the Heat to prolong their road victory streak. I'm backing the Miami Heat to emerge victorious and beat the spread.